What you're tuning into right now is ISA's Summer Sessions. This is a series of virtual education and thought leadership and conversations around relevant topics in the industrial channel. Just a background, a little bit about Summer Sessions. This is basically what grew out of the pandemic for us. We had all these capabilities in virtual education and production, and we saw a great opportunity to scale our message, not just to the companies that we always talk to, but to whole new audiences, new companies, new geographies, also deeper and wider in companies. And so just because we're out of the pandemic, we said, why should we stop doing that? So last year we did our first Summer Sessions. We did an 8-part series on omnichannel. If you ever get the opportunity, do go back and check it out. It was phenomenal. Really great conversations, really good content, and a lot of good insights. But this year, we're diving into a really, really interesting topic, I think, one that's evolving super fast, which is industrial marketing and marketing in general. We believe that our end users are flying in terms of how they're buying things, how they're looking at their preferences, how they're searching the web, all these things. And one of the ways that we're trying desperately to keep up with them is through marketing, through digital. You can't look at an article in an industry trade publication and not hear words like AI or digital transformation or website optimization. These are the things that are differentiators in the market. So what I wanted to do this year is put together a 4-part series, and I knew I was going to need some help. I needed somebody who is a guy who's super passionate around industrial marketing. And so I started combing out over the LinkedIn landscape to see who is out there. And I came across somebody that I'd been following for a while. And he had a really great series of videos where he talked about this thing where he says industrial marketing is broken. And it was provoking enough for me to click and see what the next one is. But I think that was a great backdrop for how we could look at this. And so I reached out to him, and thankfully he was pumped to be able to join us and co-host this with me and bring on some of his experts to dive into some other areas so we can find out, is industrial marketing really broken? And if so, what can we do to fix it? So I'd like now to bring on my co-host, Eddie Saunders Jr. Thanks, Destiny. Bring him on in there. Eddie, what's up, dude?
Oh, it is great to have a great day, even better day, to talk about the things we need to fix within industrial marketing with the great people.
Absolutely, man. So your face is a little bit frozen sometimes, but we can hear you loud and clear. So let's just keep it rolling. Talk to me a little bit about that video that led to us talking. Industrial marketing is broken. Why is it broken?
So I appreciate everyone understanding. I got some awesome bandwidth situations here. So again, really, really appreciate everyone's understanding. So knowing that, we're very intrigued, by the word broken and what's happening. And so I think I'd like to speak for a lot of individuals, and working over the last 14 years with so many different industries. And I'm noticing some trends and patterns that individuals are kind of forced into systems, forced into processes, and forced into specific tactics and strategies that really aren't modern. They're not practical. And there's a lot of data that shows that they're not necessarily.
I think we might have lost you there, Eddie. We'll pick up Eddie. Eddie, join back in as soon as you think that you've got it cleared there. But really the backdrop there and what really intrigued me as somebody who doesn't necessarily do marketing himself, but oversees somebody else that does marketing or oversees a department is, do I really even know how to analyze marketing? Do I really even know how to look at the KPIs the right way? Am I looking at the right KPIs? Am I giving credit where credit is due? Am I giving more credit than is deserved? I think all of this lends itself to a discussion around how modern marketing is just different. It's different today than it was 5 years ago, probably 2 years ago. And so what Eddie and I designed for this series is is 4 different sessions. And today we're going to dive into the first topic, but please do tune back in for the other 3 because there'll be different experts, different topics, different angles. And really, if you think about it, if you are a decision maker and you cover a budget of marketing, it might be 4 different parts of your marketing budget that you really want to optimize. So today, though, we're going to talk about CRM and attribution. And one of Eddie's colleagues was nice enough to join us for this, somebody who's passionate around this topic. Destiny, can you bring Mark on for me? There he is. Mark, how's it going, buddy?
Hey there. Nice to meet
All
you.
right. So, Mark, can you do us a favor and introduce yourself and let us know kind of what you do?
Absolutely. Well, so thank you so much, Brennan, for bringing me on the ISA summer sessions here. So I'm a seasoned business growth consultant, working with Sustainable Manufacturing Expo by Informa Markets as the sales director there and co-founder of SHA-BAM, which is a total brand management software, AI driven for business development, marketing, and sales, and people investor and growth hacker. Just happy to be here and helping Eddie do his thing and helping you guys get out there, and let's answer some questions and see if it really is broken. I've got 25 years experience in manufacturing, industrial construction, came up on my tools, so we know broke.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when I asked Eddie about this topic, I said I need somebody who is going to have enough knowledge around this, but also know how to be sensitive to where people are right now. We talk about the technologies that we have. We talk about where we should be or how far behind we are. But the reality is we are where we are right now. And you have to be somewhat sensitive. And so in our conversations leading up to this today for everyone, Mark and I have really gone through who our audience is in ISA, our manufacturers, our distributors, some of the common things that I hear. So that's sort of going to be my role. The way that we were going to do this today was that I was going to represent some of the things I hear from our members. Eddie was going to grill Mark on some really tough questions, and then Mark was going to, flex his marketing skills. I'm going to do the Eddie role right now, and I don't have a big E hat or a ton of energy and cool phrases, but I'm going to give it my best shot. So first off, I think some definition thing. There he is. Eddie, what's up, dude?
Good here. Hey, figuring life out. Can you hear me? Are we loud and clear? We ready to rock?
Yeah, we're good, man. I just
Loving
teed
it.
you up. I talked about your hat a little bit, and now we're ready to go. So while we're getting this, I was just about to ask Mark, before you got into your questions, can we get through some definitions? Attribution is in the title. Let's just make sure we're all on the same page. What's attribution and why is it important for industrial companies, both manufacturers, distributors, and IMRs?
Huge. So it's a big misunderstanding. And I think if we all look in the mirror, we think, man, how are we actually tracking the activity from start to finish when somebody becomes aware of our brand to when they're making a decision? And so attribution, I'm not going to lie, first time I heard it, I had to look it up, but it's really how are we properly tagging and identifying where these opportunities are coming from. And I know we all have either a Rolodex or can think, oh, we've got a spreadsheet that we use. But attribution is so important because when you have a tag of from start to finish where these individuals are going through, you can identify things as your pipeline velocity, how fast are people moving, and also most importantly, what's actually bringing in and creating real pipeline. So attribution is just making sure you're tagging and marking where these opportunities are coming from appropriately. CRM, good old acronym standing for Customer Relationship Management. And those are really platforms that allow you to take notes on specific deals so you know every step of the way. So it's a way for you to log what you're doing with each of these customers. And as you can imagine, in tandem with attribution, is going to be really what we dive into today. You think that helps a little bit?
Absolutely. And just without, I didn't say this at the top for everybody, but everyone who's tuning in, all 49 of you guys, if you have any questions, you can do one of two things. You can type it into the chat. I'll be monitoring that. So will Destiny, or simply put the hand raise on there if you're brave enough and want to come on camera and ask these marketing experts some questions, we'll bring you on camera and you can ask it directly. So please, let's let this be collaborative, and let's get the most out of it that way. So Eddie, I had teed up your question. I had teed up the question asking part. I was getting ready to run, man. I was getting ready to try to be Eddie for a minute, and I got a little sweat going. But I'm happy to have you back. I'm gonna let you take this over, and I'll just be the fly on the wall and kind of, insert in some comments here and there. But I'd love to hear this conversation between you guys, because I've already gotten to hear it once or twice, and it's very interesting to see where things have gone. So take it away, Eddie. You got this, buddy.
Right on. Hey, again, thanks everyone's understanding so much. Let's dive in, because that's what you came here for. So, Mark, let's turn up the heat a little bit, because the gloves are coming off. We need answers. So let's seriously dive right in. And I want to speak from the perspective of these marketers. Let's talk about the common frustrations and really challenges that you've encountered or seen with attribution models and CRM systems. Obviously, you're working with lots of clients. Let's really talk about those frustrations and challenges that I'm sure many of us are experiencing.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Eddie. I appreciate you bringing me on, for one thing. Attribution and tagging, kind of sourcing of the leads, where it came from. I kind of look at it as your digital supply chain and your supply chain management, and kind of that stuff. I mean, I'm used to working with, from the factory floor all the way to the customer door, and, all of those pieces. So similarly, that customer journey, you've got your supply chain sourcing, where it's coming from. Let's get these leads. Let's get the right communications, get continuity in there, get your messaging straight. Let's align the brand go to market, the C-suite's, business plan, and align that to the business development, true business development, internal, cultural, all that stuff. And then align that with your marketing and your sales tactics that bring that in. And so some of the problems that I see with those things specifically, and every company is different. Every company has completely different processes, totally different go-to-market strategies. So it's really custom, right? I mean, business is business, but problems are behavioral deposits, right? Like being able to log the call or find the source. If you're doing the manual face-to-face contacts, door knocking, any of those sales tactics for marketing. And then maybe digital marketing on the top levels. Maybe you don't have your API connections, or maybe you're not using, the forwarders, or, bringing those things, and people are, you're not following the source, right? And so similar to like the new product passport stuff that's coming out for the EU for like batteries and like products and things, we need to like tag and have a passport for every communication going out. We need to have, figure out how we can track it back, right? A lot of times, jumping from an email click to a website, you lose who it is, right? Now we have systems for that, but that's another problem with attribution, right? So there's a number of struggles. The manual long form paper days are over. I've seen whiteboards with magnets flip different ways. I've seen Trapper Keeper portfolios from the 90s and people handwriting stuff. People taking notes on every different platform. So I know I'm going on a little bit here, but there's definitely all kinds of issues there. So yeah, let me know if you want me to dive in deeper on any specific struggle.
I mean, the list goes on, right? And I feel like even in what you've listed, there are probably multiple people within the crowd be like, oh, that sounds kind of similar to what we're doing. And that's okay, because as through this entire series, we're not here just poking holes. We're bringing in experts to help fill those gaps. So Brendan, knowing his response, do you have any specific thing that you'd like to add there just for value of the crowd?
Yeah, I mean, I believe it to be true that there's many companies that are in that camp. I mean, I talked to many of them. I think a lot of them are in some version of a transformation maybe they're on day one, maybe they're on day 5, maybe they're, a couple years in, but they're still not optimized. And a lot of it really does get back. I know I don't want to take anything away from what we're going to talk about, but you talked about a lot of things in your kind of opening of that tracking from the source. And as I hear that, it really does change the way that you think about sales and marketing, in that there's a data component to this that helps you sell better. And I don't think a lot of companies are there yet. I think that people know that it exists, but maybe they're like, dealing with all of that might slow down how well I sell. And I think that's a common question is I could be on the phone or out on the field selling, or I could be entering stuff into a spreadsheet. Which would you rather me do? And I think that's going to be a common pushback, I think, especially from the field sales crew. Yeah. So I'll throw that out there. But I mean, if you want good attribution, you want credit for where credit is due. There's the digital tools that are out there that are making it easier and easier. So again, I know you're going to get into that. I don't want to steal your thunder, bro.
No, you bring up some good points there. Eddie, you got something?
No, man, in all reality, just kind of wrap it so we can keep conversation flowing. It comes down to like, God we trust, everybody else bring data. And if you ain't tracking, you're lacking, period.
Ooh, we ain't tracking, you're lacking. Well, you brought up something good there, Brendan, is that, do you want me logging and taking notes, or do you want me in front of people, right? Like, especially salespeople, but, there's this hybrid social selling. There's the pure, like engineering type marketer. There's the top of the funnel qualified, all the way through, and we usually just talk about the top level brand building and the close, and those are the two silos, sales and marketing. And there's really this huge middle ground of qualify, bonding and rapport, know, like, and trust. Early stage, right? Like, let's not forget, we're all in the people business. Let me just say that again for the people in the back of the room. We're all in the people business. Okay. We need to have empathy and caring. And I'm not going to go on that. I don't want to steal Eddie's thunder there, but we're huge on this. We need to have a collaborative partnership, abundance, longevity, stewardship mentality for things. And understand that, processes and technology are wonderful, and you can certainly outsource to, the AI entry level writer thing or something. But we need to track and log and capture these things for sure. But if you're in the people business, it needs to be relational, right? And so we definitely don't want to lose touch of those things. And so really developing cadences, technology that's working with your team, opening the trust, talent, teams, and having the treasure to fund and fuel that with transparency and temperance, and like have this like abundance of a new value bucket, valuing time, right? And those resources to be efficient and effective with things. So that's really, I get on a soapbox on that stuff. So I'll get off now, but yeah, we definitely want to make sure that we're tracking and doing those things. But there's really great ways to do it, and you got to put in the work, right? Everybody's got to put in the work. Leadership, the teams, break down these silos. Let's make it happen. We're all a crew here.
Yeah, I mean, the way
don't give them too much, right? Yeah, we got a conversation to have.
There's a lot in here. I think that it's it maybe looking at attribution as a lens from which you can better collaborate, and not looking at it just as a data farm, is that this is going to allow us to work better together. This is going to allow us to have clarity around, roles and responsibilities. Yes. We'll break down some silos. We'll create some enablement between sales and marketing. But, we are here to talk about marketing. I know sales gets all the glory always because they're the ones getting that check handed to them in their hands. But, I know we're going to get into this, but CRM and attribution done properly can be a marketer's friend, right? So I'm looking forward to how we get into that, guys. I think that that's a common frustration. I know, at least when I'm talking to my marketing people, is clarifying the ROI of our expense, or our efforts, both in time, people, and actual dollars out the door. Can we get into that? Can we keep going down that way? I think your second question kind of teased that up a little bit.
Oh, for sure. Because not all CRMs are created equal, and attribution is all segmented. And what means one thing to another will not mean the same to someone literally next door. But let's talk about how the conversations around attributions in CRM, how has that evolved over the years in your perspective, Mark? You've been able to see from literally the creation of one of these platforms. Tell us, like, really what we've seen happen over the years and what impact you think it's had on industrial marketing strategies as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen, the notepad and paper, the spreadsheet, and then during the pandemic, it just went into warp speed. Of course, you've got, your classic customer relationship management system, versus maybe your funnel relationship management or your qualifying systems, right? And so I've seen misappropriation of like different platforms used for different pieces for maybe the wrong application. I've seen project management tools used. At the end of the day, you do got to get the job done, and so the best tool to use is the one you have or the one you know how to use, I guess. But at the end of the day, one thing that I've seen is this continuous learning environment, and really embracing that and having someone that's an early adopter that can kind of pilot and figure things out. Technologies coming through, coming off of spreadsheets like a couple years ago, early days, like Monday and Asana and Rike and ClickUp and some of those things, right? They blend between a business OS and like a poor man's ERP, and I mean that in the best way possible. But I don't want to get too far into like mentioning too many brands and stuff. But when you get on the CRM side, a lot of these companies work together. You have all the big guys, all the ERP companies, all the marketing companies, the CRMs, they're coming together. I'm seeing that as a trend more and more. So historically, it's just been this huge evolution. But one of the failures, I think, that kind of really went unnoticed, and this is a big B2B market here, right? Is that right, Brendan?
Yep.
Yeah. So on the B2B side, during the pandemic, a lot of it has been, let's top of funnel brand build, and then let's get our sales and let's rename our sales development people into business development people so they get their phone calls and emails answered. So that's a broken thing. Mistitling people, I see that a lot at companies. Undervaluing legacy, great seasoned people, over pumping like new people. But with the B2B space during the pandemic, we saw where it was less of who or getting into the right decision maker to more of a decision tree, and ultimately corporate buyers and vendors, and getting onto that vendor list, the approved vendor list for these companies is a really big deal. And you can call, and when they've got sometimes it's just a spreadsheet, like fill out these 10 tabs of 90 questions and you'll get approved, and then then you're on the inside. I mean, you can literally send an email to them and they'll forward it to the right people, and now you're connected to that company account wide. I mean, that's a huge insight, right? Getting in and getting vendor approved with these companies, even as a marketer, as a source, whatever. And that goes for both you and who you're trying to get to, right? So if you have those, there's good chances are that the people you want to work with have those processes in place. And so some of that direct connection, then the newsletters and the emails and the marketing lead magnets and all the white papers and case studies can go to the right people, get in front of the right stuff, and instead I've seen a lot of miscontinuity where a company will set that up for themselves, and then they really go big on marketing spend and sales spend, and they don't want to do the paperwork to get approved, to do the vendor stuff. And that's kind of like an open door, like we were inviting you in, just sign the sheet. So maybe I'm totally wrong on that, and please let me know. But I've been able to get into some really big companies through the open door, but they want you to give the information. So I hope that really clarifies that.
Interesting. And Brendan, with you, so obviously you kind of be on the outside, you still have been able to work strictly through attribution. And that's a big thing. A lot of us, we know what this is. We've just never heard a word that kind of like describes it per se. So from your experience, Brendan, have changes in the way and the technology you use to interact with your customers and track that, has that led to any type of impact on your internal strategy at all? Or is it kind of just plug and play the way you've done it? So only real answers.
Yeah, only real answers. I mean, if you're talking about us internally at ISA, I'll be transparent. We're playing around. I think we're small team, small but very mighty. And we've got really sharp and smart people all up and down. But we're trying to just leverage technology and throw stuff at the wall. And I think that that's common right now. I think that people are like, technology is evolving, so I need to evolve. I'm going to start throwing stuff at the wall and see what sticks. I think that what it lacks is strategy in a lot of ways. And if I'm going to guess, small companies are in similar situations, or they have a very small delegated department that is supposed to come up with this strategy, and it's not really a top-down thing. And so I think that the organization of attribution and a CRM, or just like you said, I liked what you said, that whatever you're using is the right tool for you, as long as you're using it and you like it, right? Not everybody has the resources or is ready for a CRM. But I think that as long as you're organized, and as long as you are organized around a strategy, you're able to push towards your goals. So I think that that's, as the evolution is, it's the need to move from that dabbling into an organized strategy of not just saying it's a new frontier. It's no, this is how it's done now, and you need to get organized. I think I see that as probably something that's more common.
Mm-hmm. And ladies and gentlemen, let me be very clear, from the 14 years of doing it everybody else's way to now saying, hey, there's a better way to do this. Attribution and CRMs are not meant to babysit your sales force. It's not meant to babysit anyone or anything. It is to create transparency and banks of data so we can make better decisions. And if you or the team that you work with is afraid of transparency and being able to see what goes down, you have way bigger problems than attribution. But I'm going to leave that one there. And I'm sure probably many people in the crowd will be like, yep, heard that. But as we move forward, go ahead, please. No, throw it down. One
quick question that came in from my man, Rod.
Let's do it.
Rod is asking, and maybe Mark, you want to cover your ears on this one, as somebody who runs a CRM company. Are there ways to effectively track attribution without a CRM system? And he did say, you're not going to believe this. But Rod, I think there's a lot of people out there that are asking the same question. So if you're looking for baby steps and you want to start organizing attribution, what is it? What are some things you can do just to get started in this area?
Yeah, absolutely.
Man. So go ahead,
Eddie,
Mark.
you're the marketing expert.
I want to hear what you got to say, bro.
All right. I'll do mine and then you do yours.
There we go.
So, I think it's really important to crawl, walk, run, like apprenticeship model. And maybe that's my trades background, but be intentional, like you're saying, Brendan, and make the effort. You can start with lists and columns on a pad of paper, or whatever you're comfortable with. People take in information differently. And you also have to remember that others on your team take in information digitally. Digital natives, you put pen and paper in front of them and they can't even process it. Likewise, the inverse is true. So, but you can track just by even doing a survey after the fact, right? Do a survey and write things down, right? Now the level of granularity and the accuracy changes, but you can use shortener links that are free. You can use open services like just email campaign tools or call services. And you might have to copy paste, or you might have to just write them down or manually enter, but you can get started. And I think it's important to understand the process of what's happening so that you keep, again, that relational, that human aspect. These aren't just numbers on the other side of this single column. Like, there's a real person in a real thing taking in your information, and they have emotions and feelings and context and everything about that. Every single one of those numbers on the other side of a list is a person. So please never, ever, ever forget that. Like, I can't say that enough. Like, part of it is that we're losing our dignity trying to go too far too fast. You know, we're losing mutual respect for one another. I won't touch that anymore. But yeah, you can get started the most basic ways. And as you learn, then ramp it up, right? But like, break it down to the lowest common denominator, surround yourself with some experts, get some consulting from SpeakFriend, bring in some experts in an alliance or an association or a membership, right? And surround yourself with, you never want to be the smartest person in the room anyway. So that's why I'm scared of this whole show right now, but I'm just kidding. Eddie's my man. So yeah, what are you seeing, Eddie? Like, I want to hear where you would get started without tech.
I'm going to say this because I love my perspective in this whole conversation selfishly. Cost and time should be no excuse for you to not leverage a CRM. Because, for example, HubSpot, like another well-known, very cheap, even a free option. Mark, your SHA-BAM, which is not only a super fun name to say, his CRM, super intuitive, also as well as low cost. And it's hard because, and honestly, you as entities spend more on things that do way less for you.
Oh yeah.
So knowing that, it is very much worth it, because what is our entity? You want more sales. If we're being honest, we get to the stinky core of the onion. You want more sales. This creates more data through tracking and how you acquire those more, and allows you to make more data-driven decisions. So not to be abrasive, but again, you spend more on things that do way less for you. And with it being 2024 and with all of the CRM options that you have available to you at low to no cost, the adoption, I don't allow excuses. And that is my nicest way to put that, because I've allowed over 14 years people to make excuses, and there are none in 2024 with all the tools we have available to us.
Right, Eddie's throwing bows out there, everybody. Eddie's throwing bows.
I
think it's true. I think that there's the fear around the expense direct to the CRM company for sure. But I think the bigger fear, and you touched on this too, Eddie, there's no excuse for this, is that I'm going to buy it and not know what to do with it, or nobody's going to want to own it. So I think that, again, this might lead into where we're going next of, what we've seen that's kind of tanked a good implementation around CRM or attribution. I think, Eddie, you had a good question for Mark around what he's seen and where this has gone awry. How did you want to ask him that question? Yeah, I think you had a nice way of doing it.
For sure. We're not here to create FOMO by any means, but we'd like to kind of do semi the opposite. And we know that we'd be able to see people leverage these types of tools and technology, and also see what happens where they have missteps, so they do something incorrect. So like, Mark, where's a situation or a scenario that you've seen misuse or lack of use of these tools that have led to huge misunderstandings, or even worse, a missed opportunity?
Oh yeah. Wow. That's big time. Yeah, I mean, not using it can affect, a marketer's bonus structure, a salesperson's bonus structure. Over tracking can, you get into the weeds, and, the whole analysis by paralysis thing, or paralysis by analysis. It's about balance. It's about context. Again, that relationship journey of the customer's journey is also your journey too. And the marketing team has to take this journey multiple times a day, over and over and over again. So, a big problem is when you get friction, or there's a problem in your system or your process, like, it's not okay. It's just not okay to like keep tripping over it and to ignore it and to not get it fixed. Like, you're going to lose your B players, your A- players, your A+ players. Like, if you don't fix those things, like, it's the equivalent of like Yeah, I mean, it's not good. Like the decision makers, the decision tree, the stakeholders really need to support and create space and a time for conversations and these improvements. Like every minute of every day can't always be output. You have to, there's balance, but there's also seasons, right? I mean, a lot of emphasis has been on balance, but seasons of focus, seasons of rest. Like, I think that's really important. So yeah, I digress, but
No, I think it's a good way of looking at that. And I had a question, and we didn't talk about this earlier, so hopefully I'm not wading into something super controversial. But how have you seen it work well when you have decision makers and stakeholders collaborating around maybe weighting in attribution? Like how important is each step or that? Because obviously that's going to tie to compensation, that's going to tie to ROI, all
right.
that stuff. Is how do you see that conversation going well? Because I've witnessed it, not obviously not with my glorious team, but I've witnessed it. It really fall down and get competitive. Like you're telling me that at an opening of an email is important as me shaking someone's hand at a ball game. How does that work well?
Oh, yeah. So we're kind of getting back into the turf wars a bit, right? I think we need to sometimes create. I've seen it go well when it's been kind of even a company-wide cultural refocus. Let's create a 3, 4, 5 year vision story for our company. Here's where we're at now. We can't fix the past. We can only change the future. We don't know what we don't know. This is going to happen. Like the top leadership, we're going to support you in this way by clearing these frictions, getting rid of these things. Now we realize that there's a stream in this current of currency where there's boulders and rocks and little currents that circular. I hate to say eddy current, but it's there. Like, you got an eddy current. And
I approve this message.
Yes, there you go. And I'm here to tell you there's some people that have figured out and gamified the system and the processes at your company. And there's some people there that are doing very well because of it. And they don't want to see change. They don't want to see stuff happen. There's fear, anger, worry, anxieties, even can turn into like hatred and all kinds of nasty stuff. And supporting it, get with your HR, build a core group at your company or whatever, right? And then support it. Let them know that it's coming. Set the expectations. Let them know that you fully support that if there may be not a long-term longevity sustainable home for them, that you're going to support them moving to where the greatest things are for them. You want everybody, you want success for everybody, right? And I'm by no means the end all be all, and I don't want to come across super arrogant or anything like that, but at the end of the day, like, and there's some people that keep their mouth shut. They don't say anything. They work tirelessly all the time and they love what they do and they're not compensated hardly at all. And so that's where attribution, this transparency, trust, along with temperance and stewardship is really important. And so to see it go successful, you need to have, bring in your HR, bring in your teams, like make it a cultural thing, and you can do it incrementally, right? And you can, but you don't want to just dive in blind. I mean, I've seen it also where you can just change one thing at a time, and it's like turning up, walking into an empty empty building, and then more and more people come in, and the audio gets louder and louder. I call that boiling critters or whatever. Like, I don't want to be insensitive, but like toads, I don't know, like you turn up the water a little bit incrementally and they don't even notice it happens. So I've seen that be successful too, where you just institute one little behavioral change at a time, moving towards a big goal. So you reverse engineer milestones and treat it like a project for change management, right? So I mean, it can get really gnarly and super intense, but you can be really simple and do one thing at a time and scale back too. So I've seen success really everywhere, but if the motto is ABC as in sales, like, always be confusing. Oh wait, always be closing. That's right. Yeah. But these activities, just throwing up confusing numbers and things, can be detrimental. And I'd rather see smaller numbers with realizing there's a real person behind it than bigger numbers and you lose the humanity in it. That's maybe I'm too sensitive for the game now. I don't know.
I think you bring up good points. I mean, it is at its core, there are people that are on this, both the customers as people, but also the people that are impacted by it. And the human element that if you discuss this as humans, the data is not going to lie, at the end of the day, especially if you're all on the same page, the data won't lie. And so some of those people who are, like you said, gamifying the system, there might be some fear on their part that the data is going to tell some truths. So
to that point, though, I would jump in and say that data has a narrative, and you can, as a stakeholder, you can kind of control that data narrative, and it kind of can lie, because the people that implement and make the decisions from the data you don't know what you don't know. So it is something to be careful about. Yep. For real.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, truest of the true. So it continues to go back to not only just having it, but leveraging it correctly. But I'm hearing these trends and patterns, and they're not all created equal, and there's lots of misuse around the industry. So if you feel like you don't have your attribution plan set up, or you're not leveraging your CRM to its fullest capability, join the club. You're definitely not alone. Don't feel like a weirdo in a bad way by any means. That's why we're here. We're saying, hey, this is kind of a problem. Let's fix it. So as we move forward in the conversation, one question I feel like not only that I have, but maybe a lot of the individuals in the crowd may have, is how are we balancing, Mark, the need that, like, you need to have accurate attribution, right? But if you compare that to the complexity of the customer journey across, all these different industrial sales processes and the multiple touch points and channels, how do we balance that? I know I need it, but man, I have a pretty complex sales process. Is that just an excuse? I think it is. You tell us.
I'm going to lean in here and talk about story brand and clarity over cleverness, right? So Donald Miller put that in there, and simplify, distill, and it's about working principles, and there's context to everything, right? So I would simplify always.
Interesting. Unpack that. You're not going to just give me that and not unpack that for me, bro. Like, you got to feed us. Yo, we're hungry.
Yeah. So, I mean, you want to look at your processes, your systems, your people, your automations, your delegations, your team building, the context of your internal culture, your vendor culture, your supply chain, your customer base, and you really want to distill your messaging, really gain clarity as to who you are, why you're doing what you're doing. And you can ask who, what, where, when, why, and how for just about everything. And what I've seen is, I want to be careful here, but arrogance and overconfidence, I will call it that, overconfidence, and people trying to justify their silo or their bucket, when we want to bake a bigger pie together and not hoard our own slice. As a company, as a person, we want to be out there for the good of the enterprise. Not, like we're in a business, we're part of a team, we're part of a company. You want to be a solopreneur? I mean, I can set you up and help you be a laptop CEO by yourself, and we can automate the whole thing and do that. That's cool. But when you're with a company and you're building teams, which I love collaboration, I love partnerships, that, so yeah, that's that. Does that unpack it a little bit more for you?
Totally. And I'm kind of curious, Brendan, just to make sure that we get your perspective on this, because you represent obviously a large party in a very passionate way. So I'm just curious of your thoughts on this, and just to reiterate it back to you so you can kind of prime your brain, is kind of what do we do as leaders when we're trying to balance the need for all this? You want to make good decisions, but you know that your buyer journey is pretty complex. What are your thoughts on that, man?
It's two sides. I mean, you know that the buyer's journey is complex because it just is. I mean, there's so many different touch points that they get. There's the countless amounts of content that's flown at them. There's all the brand marketing everywhere. There's also individual direct outreach. There's everything under the sun that could be attributed to the final sale. That's one side. There's the other side that I think is probably harder to navigate, which is the internal. Like you said, you don't want to just protect your slice. You're trying to make a pie. That's hard to get to because you're talking about the things that people spend time on. You're talking about somebody wrote an email. They spent a lot of time on that email. They think it's worthwhile, and it got some clicks. And that person is now saying, how important is that? And you're in a position as a decision maker to evaluate how important that is. When somebody in that department is saying it's super valuable, somebody in another department is not, and so that's hard to really get to. What you have to ultimately stand on is your company's truth. If you can get alignment on that between sales and marketing, and again, this whole series isn't intended to talk about the conflict between sales and marketing. It's intended to show that there are tools out there that allow for better collaboration and transparency in both internally and externally. But I think that's going to be a bigger issue, is getting to that part where you can kind of cut through things and ask some real, pointed questions. Is not everything that we do leads to the sale. Let's try to find out where the threshold is of simplicity, where you started in this whole comment, and stay there. Let's not push it further and further and try to get, so complex that we just paralyze ourselves.
Yeah. You said some great points there. And I think what I'm hearing is the transparency and truth driving profitability, like over and over again. And if I realize that's like kind of the end all be all, right? And if we're going to talk about like the elephant in the room, it's like, where should our focus be on these behaviors? Is it the profitability? Is it just ROI, go make money or go save money? And is that where our focus needs to be? Or is that a chip stack, a scorecard, a point system? Is that a tool that's like putting gas in a tank? Or do we need to have the vehicle, the engine, the transmission, the people, processes, and technology that's good for the planet, that we can invest in other value buckets, that while we want to be, greedy for the profits, can we also be greedy for good things that help save us time, effort, energy? I believe that, and I say this in all love and tenderness and everything, and we've all come from a scarcity. I'll call it a more scarcity mindset, or a more focused mindset of just needing to get for ours or our family or our country or whatever, right? And so I think it's a different mindset shift, but I would probably encourage different value buckets, because time is kind of the great equalizer. We don't know how much of it we have. None of us do. We spend it linearly in order, and it could go away at any time, right? I mean, I know that's a heavy thing. That's a really heavy thing, and take a minute to digest it. But a way to value the profitability versus the time, we can put them, they're not mutually exclusive. They can be shared and they work back and forth. And trading time for money is one level of skills and effort and ability. Another level is delegation, automation, and team building and things. And then you have the creativity layer and the inventive layer and the communication layers, right? So invention, communication, teams and delegation, and then skills, trading skills for money. And I think at each level of those, they all work together as a stack, as a people stack, where you can invest in people, processes, and technology in order to, for the good of the enterprise, drive that entity, right? And so that entity is the enterprise, and we can all give our time, effort, energy, values, culture, our ESG, economic, social, governance stuff. We can get in line with the tax code and philanthropy and everything. And we can do that and then fuel that entity with our stack and manage it and delegate it and organize it. And then it can kind of run, right? And we've built the whole vehicle. We've got the tires and the frame and the engine and all the stuff. And now we can run this vehicle in an environment, in an ecosystem that's not an island to itself. Our company works with other companies, with other vendors and things. And so when you sort and organize it in a way, I think there's ways around those different values and being clear about the spiral dynamic of where we're at in our phase of life, in our experience levels, and in our knowledge base, so that we can compensate people efficiently, effectively, and more relationally. I know that sounds complicated, but I promise you it's actually really, really simple.
Yeah, I mean, it's heady stuff, I'd say, but it's looking at it in terms of the CRM and attribution as a way that you can just get everybody on the same playbook and aligned, so that no matter the situation you're in, you can rely back on that alignment. It's a good, it's a good strategic framework even for you. I mean, it's what a sales process is to some degree. It's a repeatable and trusted way of doing things.
Yeah. It's Sunday dinner for your family. You can all get around the table and talk about it.
I like it. So you talked about technology a little bit in there as part of that stack. I know, Eddie, we wanted to get into it, and I'm conscious of leaving some time at the end.
Yeah, let's do it.
To come up, but how about emerging technology that's coming our way? What are you seeing that is here, that is underutilized, and what's coming up next?
Yeah, do that, Mark.
Oh man, just pitching them at me one after another here.
You're the expert. We want to hear him, the CRM expert, man.
You said it, your words, not mine. No, this is humbling. I just got to say, right out of the gate, this is super, super humbling, but thank you. Just so I understand, say the question one more time.
So emerging technology that's moving attribution and CRM forward and is maybe here today, that's underutilized, but also what's, peeking around the bend in the next couple of years that you think is going to shift it even more?
Absolutely. I think on a lot of levels, we're going back to old school. I mean, I'm seeing event technologies. I'm seeing in-person AR, VR, virtual reality, augmented reality, XR, a combination, multimodal realities, right? Your reality, my reality, we're experiencing the same moment in time from different and opposing perspectives. And when we talk about it and share that, in a way, we're almost time traveling. We're this linear experience, we're talking about it, sharing it, and we're having a conversation, and we're being able to experience those things. So AI is a part of that, right? The multi-threading of time, geographic, audio converted to transcription, video into all kinds of information. Are you smiling? Are you wincing? The AI can parse all those things. My phone and stuff is blowing up. This is awesome. Wow. So we're going to be able to leverage a lot of things. I think we need to be super careful. But the technologies in the event space combined with CRM technology, web attributions, we're in this like web 2.5 or 2.5, like web 3, like, all the crypto people just went, yeah, all right. But, that's another transparency and truth and all those things, right? So I'm seeing multimodal, I'm seeing lots of different people tech, planet tech, digital threading that's like modular in nature. All of that stuff is helping with attribution and helping with that, single source of truth stuff. Now, but the thing about truth is that, it can sound really good, but the delivery person, things can be seasoned and spiced and manipulated and choreographed and edited, like we just have to take everything with a grain of salt, be really, really smart about it. I mean, I can play just the black keys on the piano and sound like I've been playing forever and ever and ever, and I'm an awesome musician. But if I never throw in the spicy white keys or flip it, do I really know what I'm doing? Do I really know what I'm talking about if I can't distill it into a principle and then regurgitate it in a whole different application? So I think we need to be testing. You said some stuff about before, I think attribution is really important alongside of A/B testing. And you can do that with 2 columns on a piece of paper, split test, split test, split test. All you marketers know about this, but what went well, what could be better, and compare that contextually to another experience, another person, another salesperson, another marketing person. Really compare and analyze those things. So these emerging technologies are helping us to tie all these things together, get better and better information. I'm really bullish on the event space and the tech space, and really people collaborating on just really big communication layers, right? So we're seeing it impact everything from, I'll stay on track here, but yeah, it's impacting whole ecosystems across the board, and I think it's great.
How about you, Eddie? What are you seeing out there?
I love this concept, and we've talked about sales and marketing as being separate, but it's no surprise, we're manufacturing industrials is typically a couple of years behind a lot of the more modern cutting edge industries. And you're seeing complete condensing and just removing of separate sales and marketing departments, and it's being turned into RevOps. And both sales and marketing are functions of revenue operations, and what they do is just separate. So it's bringing these departments together very intentionally, centralizing their leadership so they all have a main focus, which is revenue operations. And I think that manufacturing, I see some manufacturers who are getting on board with this, and when I consult with my clients, I flip the script. Like, we're completely flipping everything around. We're not just doing marketing activity, we're doing sales enablement, and it becomes revenue operations. And I think there's so much promise to that. And so I would challenge each and every one of you to start really considering the silos that you have set up and how we're bringing those together, because we're all just trying to accomplish a very similar, if not the same thing. So that's a huge trend. Pay attention. Heard it here.
Nice. I would say that nobody is a fan of silos. They happen, right? And so love to hear that that's a trend that's something that we can take advantage of, and certainly eye-opening. I like the term too, Department of RevOps or something like that.
Yep.
Very cool. So we're almost out of time. I think we got a minute left. We didn't get to all of our questions, but that's okay. There's more, I'm sure, that we could follow up. And please do connect with these two really sharp and smart guys on LinkedIn. They put out some great content around industrial marketing, and please do reach out to them if you have individual questions. But before I let everybody go, does anybody out there have any questions that are burning for our two marketing ninjas here, just in case they want to get into it?
It's a burning desire.
All right. It doesn't look like anybody's coming in. But what I will say, does the SNF stand for Sam and Frodo?
Oh, sorry. You brought warmth to my heart. So speak friend, yes, in the Mines of Moria. This is very, very Lord of the Rings based. So yes, speak friend and enter. So Sam and Frodo, it now has a second meeting. Thank you very much. Sam and Frodo. My son's name is Sam, actually. Isn't that hilarious? Love it.
Nice. All right. So this is our first summer sessions of the season wrapped. Mark, thank you very much for being here. Eddie, thank you so much for bringing Mark on and helping me beat up CRM and attribution. And I think that we brought up some really good points. We provoked some conversations that we know are happening underneath the surface and brought them up. We're going to come back, though, in a couple of weeks on Wednesday, July 31st, to talk about old school no more, modernizing industrial marketing. So, yes, CRM and attribution are part of that, but there's a whole lot more. So we're going to bring on a new expert that day. Eddie and I will be back to really drill into it. But again, this is just part 1 of 4. So please do sign up for the others, and we'll see you back on July 31st. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.